Hey guys, today we have a really fun video for you. Got my helper Luca and got Holly. She is working on some stuff, but I'll show you. We got 40 pounds of apples, 20 pounds of pears that we're gonna process. We've been canning a lot of jams and jellies and canning a bunch of things, pressure canning. And we bought some from Azure. We bought some apples and pears in bulk from Azure because we wanted to can some applesauce. We may make pear sauce. I think we're going to make pear sauce and pear jam, which we never made pear jam before. So we're going to try that out. I have a different type of pectin that we're now using, and it's called Pomona's pectin. So I'll show you here. I've already made probably 5, maybe 6 batches of jams and jellies and canned them already with it. So it took me a little bit to kind of get the rhythm of it because it was more potent than I realized. It really thickens really well, and it's supposed to only thicken with the calcium instead of thickening with a lot of sugar, so you can get away with making jams and jellies with little to no sugar. And we made ours with either honey or maple syrup. So we're gonna make pear jam. I probably will make that with honey since I have most of honey, and we're gonna make the applesauce. We don't usually put sugar or anything in the applesauce, and then we're making applesauce, right, with it. Are we making apple butter? That's the other.
Are we making apple butter?
That's the other thing I forgot. We are making apple butter too.
That's the purpose of the 40.
She's not mic'd, so we're testing our new little mics. They were budget mics, so I'm hoping the audio is okay. But you know, I'm trying to up our audio quality.
I'm gonna steal your mic. So last time we got
She looks like a presenter.
Last time we got 1 box. No, we got 2 boxes of apples, didn't we? 1 box.
We got 1 box of
box.
apples, and we did half and half.
So 20 pounds of apples, 1 box, and we made applesauce, which must have been a small batch because it lasted us a couple days.
Yeah, it was like a mason jar quart size jar. Yeah.
And we made apple butter that was supposed to last a long time, and we ate it because it was so
It was 9.5, maybe 10
goodness. Little
half
drops.
pints.
They're little.
They're not little.
They're little.
I mean, it's a cup, literally 8 ounces.
So good. Luke and I have been eating that on our gluten-free bread, and it's so good. So I wanted to make a ton of apple butter. That was the purpose of the apple order.
Yes.
Here are our apples and pears from Azure. As you can see, some are starting to go bad, but
Most of them are good, though, which
Yeah.
is exciting.
we just have like 4 or 5.
We got 20 pounds of organic pears, and do you remember how many pounds of apples we got?
40, I think.
40 pounds of organic apples. So today, you know what we're doing.
Making stuff with apples and pears.
That's right.
And here's
processing.
one of our pears.
Oh, it's beautiful. They look so good. This is the first time ordering. Okay, we did nectarines. 1 month nectarines and apples. So we did the apples before. They were excellent. We did nectarines. They were excellent. And this is our first time doing pears, and they look excellent. You always get a few just because, you know, they're shipped. Take a little bit of time to get here, but otherwise, especially for preserving, excellent quality. So we're really excited. Happy preserving day.
So this is what I'm working with right here. Luca already gave you the tour. Holly is going to get started on washing these. And then we're all going to get working on washing them, cutting them. I'll show you the next steps. All right, guys. So we got some beautiful pears here. I'm starting to cut. This is my pot. I am going to be making the pear jam first, and then we'll start on the other stuff. Sorry if I'm like up and down here, but I'm trying to get all these things so that you guys can see me cut. Can you even see me cut? No, the pot's in the way. Anyway, so right here I got the pears. I'm just coring them. I am putting them in skin and all because we have a sieve that I'll show you in a little bit that my mother-in-law lent to us. So thank you, because we're able to just put everything in here and then we'll be able to sieve through it. So I'm just tossing these in here. I did forget, I'm going to add a little splash of water with a little bit of lemon first because pears will oxidize and brown really quickly. I don't need to add a ton of water. So I'm trying to get 4 cups of mashed pears. I'm going to do like heaping 4 cups. This recipe is kind of one that I'm loosely following / making up. So feel free to do as you please with that. But essentially it's 4 cups of fruit, mashed fruit. And then I'm going to do about a 1/4 cup of lemon juice. And then I'm going to do about 1/2 cup of honey. And I'll taste it. If I like the honey, 1/2 cup. I will keep it at that. If not, I'll add another 1/4 cup and taste it at that. If not, I don't think I'll do a cup. That's way too much honey. And then I'll add the pectin. And the pectin, I'll show you because it has its own thing that you have to do with it. Really easy, but I'll add that at the end. The nice thing about that pectin is that you can cook the fruit just to your liking, and then you can go ahead and thicken it. So you don't really have to cook it a lot. These pears are rather ripe, so they are a little softer, so it won't take very long to cook them. It is said and known that underripe fruit tends to be higher in pectin, so if you want a really pectin-y and you don't even want to use pectin, you can actually get more underripe fruit. You do have to cook it longer, but since I'm not using sugar a lot of the time, or actual sugar, a lot of the times it doesn't get as jammy without that. So anyway, this is just kind of like a low sugar method as to how to make pear jam, and it's our first time trying it, so we'll see how we like it. These pears are ridiculously ripe, which is great. So the jam will be jam in
The jelly will be jelly.
no time. The jelly will be jelly. Whoa. All right, so next thing we're gonna get going is the pear sauce, which is like applesauce, just with pears. And sometimes we add lemon juice depending on the acidity. You do need it, if you're gonna can it, you do need to add a little lemon juice to get it going so that it's somewhat, it needs to be below 4.6 in terms of pH. You can use pH strips to test it and see, just to make sure it's acidic enough for canning purposes, and then you're good to go. So we probably will, if we're gonna can it. I just don't know that we're gonna end up with a ton to be able to can, because as a family, this guy is eating all the pears. We might keep some for fresh eating. I think Holly's gonna want to experiment with trying to freeze some just to see how they perform. And we're gonna see what we can make with them frozen. And we got the pear jam. We're not making a huge batch of pear jam since it's our first time making it. I have a feeling we're gonna love it and we're gonna wish that we made more, but we can always get more. Hopefully if Azure has more, if not, we'll find other ways. All right, so we got all of our pears chopped up very roughly. I'm gonna attempt to place them in this bowl without making a big mess. And by bowl, I mean pot, not bowl. I'm gonna turn on the heat to this guy right here, about a medium heat. And then I'm going to add about 3/4 cup of water to this. A decent amount when I'm making pear sauce or applesauce. I do add a little more water just to get it going so that it doesn't burn. And then we'll see if it needs anything afterwards. We will add a little, probably a little lemon. If not, I can even test the pH of it to see. But literally, pears, chopped up, water, let this go for a little bit. So pear sauce is going. Here's an update on the pear jam. This is just a little bit of water, pears, and the lemon. This is starting to get, you can see this is mush town right here. So we're just gonna let this cook. I'll give you an update on this. If you guys heard some music in the background, Luca ran away with the microphone and he's playing some VeggieTales on them.
That's hilarious.
Holly
am trying a different method of freezing pears. I'm determined. Sebastian doesn't think it's going to work, but I'm determined to make it work. So I have my hot apple cider that we just made for you guys. Oh, it's heaven. That's so good. All in a cup. So you can do it two ways. It's if you want to use it frozen for baked goods or smoothies, or I want to try it for salads even. But if you don't want to turn to like thawed brown mush when you thaw them, you can either peel them if you want. I'm leaving them on and I'm just slicing them and putting them in ice water. You can put lemon juice in it. We're a little low on lemons, but just read an article by Pioneer Women that you can do a salt water method. So I just put enough sea salt on the bottom to coat the bottom. You soak them, you rinse them, and then just put them on a baking sheet. Like, is it called blind? No, not blind baking. What is that called when you freeze them?
No, I know what you mean.
So you put them individually on a baking sheet, freeze them, like flash freeze them so they're not stuck to each other.
I think that is flash freezing, yeah.
And then you can put them in your freezer bag. So that's what I'm going to try. I'm not sure if it's going to work, but I think it will, at least enough just to have like fresh, kind of fresh pears throughout the season we can do different stuff with. But I'm just going to keep working and then get them frozen.
She's more optimistic than I am about that. I'm like, oh, they're going to be brown mush. But often she does prove me wrong, so we'll see. But I'm like, can we just buy fresh at that time? Because I want to make as much processed goods as possible. But I
You'll
bet
thank
you.
me later.
Yes, I usually end up thanking her later because my mom bought me this thing, Yonanas. I'll put a picture or whatever.
Yeah, we could use for that.
And it's like an auger thing, but you put frozen fruit and it just comes out as ice cream. You can put bananas, and we've done it with our nectarines and other fruit that we have in the freezer. And I bet you more than anything, I'll probably end up putting these pears in with something and making some sort of frozen dessert with them. So that sounds really good. So I'll probably like it. I just want to capitalize on 20 pounds of pears and make as much processed things as I can because, I don't know, if you're canning, you want to can.
But if you're freezing, you want to freeze.
And if you're freezing, you want to freeze. So anyway, pears are pretty much almost done. She's just finishing up the last few to chop up for freezing.
They have all, I'm just going to interrupt real quick. They have all been excellent quality. Well, there's just a few spots, and they're organic, but hardly any.
I actually like that they
I've
don't
had to cut off.
look perfect on the outside. It really
Right.
tells me, I'm like, if a bug wants to get at this,
Right.
it's probably edible for humans too. So
Look at that. Juicy, golden delicious.
they're beautiful. Pear sauce, pear jam. It won't be a ton of everything. We'll have some for freezing, some jam, some pear sauce. So I don't even know if we're going to can these because it's not a ton. But we will have plenty to can with these guys over here.
We've never
So-
preserved pears, so I guess this will be our pear experiment of what we like
Preserving
best.
pears experiment.
Yeah. What's
I
best.
think I might move to Appletown and start the apple butter because that takes the longest in terms of the apple things that we're going to make. And apple butter is so good and easy. So let me grab my stuff and I'll show you how we make our apple butter. I got a decent amount of apples now. I'm going to get chopping. Just remove the core and then I'm going to slice them into just smaller pieces to go in my Instant Pot. The Instant Pot can fit, 10, maybe 12 cups. I'm not going to use it for pressure cooking. I'm just going to use it for saute feature. And we're just going to core them. So Luca brought this little corer here.
Hi, sweetheart.
Yeah, can you say something?
Sweetheart.
Can you say
You look sleepy. You look sleepy. Love you.
We haven't done much updates on Bear since he was a
Right
puppy.
there. I
He's
know we need to do
huge.
some updates. You're 10 months, Bear? You're a puppy?
You're 10 months. All right, so I'm turning on the Instant Pot to saute into the more option, so the highest setting. Starting to add my apples. Sorry, the sun just came in and it's on everything, but I'm using this core here, removing the core of the apples, and then just cutting them up, putting them in here. While I peel these apples, I'm gonna go ahead and add just a little bit. You can see the Instant Pot was really hot already. I just added, I don't know, maybe about half a cup of water, just so that they don't stick in the bottom and it starts breaking them down. So I'm going to keep adding to this. I may need to transfer this to a different pot, depending how much apple butter Holly wants to make. Well, I know we want the 20 pounds, but if they don't all fit here, we'll figure it out. So we decided that this Instant Pot right here, we started adding apples, and then quickly we realized it ain't going to fit. So we kind of upgraded our game. I have no idea. This is giant, like canner type style pot. It is full of apples, and look at all these cores. All that is going to the chickens. They're going to have a party. We got quite the apple situation going. So I just left the Instant Pot just so these cook. I'm going to put this on the stove. We're going to make all this into apple butter. We still got these apples right here, and we still got a ton of apples over there, probably about half of that left for applesauce. This is going to be apple butter. We realized that we probably eat more apple butter, and by we, I mean she will probably solely eat this whole pot by herself.
Gladly.
Gladly, she says. Apple butter. So anyway, I'm just going to pour the Instant Pot contents on top, put this on the stove. This is going to be an all-day cooking type thing. So anyway, that's that. This thing is, somebody's dancing.
Woohoo! Apple butter.
She ain't scared. So we're going big or going home, and good thing we're home, because if we had to go home, we're right here. So pear butter is way in the back here. Not pear butter, pear sauce. It is ready. I turned it off. I'm going to take the immersion blender instead of actually use the, whatchamacallit? The strainer thing, sieve thing. I haven't showed you that yet. I said I'd show you, but Holly just reminded me we're not just making pear jam. We're making vanilla bean pear jam. So I actually bought her some vanilla beans for her Was it your birthday?
Yeah.
Yeah, one of those
See?
things. It was her birthday. But man, I opened this up. They're grade B, so they're more for the like extract, I guess. But they're more moist, very smelly of vanilla.
Very fragrant.
So I'm gonna go ahead, cut this in half, scrape the beans, put it in there, and then I'll put the whole pot in there just to try a vanilla bean pear jam because that just sounds good. Okay, so I got the insides of it in here and stirred. I'm gonna add the pot itself too. This pear jam is jamming up. I don't see that we're gonna need much. I'm actually gonna add just a little more of a splash of water just to help it get going. But pears naturally have quite a bit of pectin in them anyway. And then of course we're gonna add the honey, so that will add a lot more liquid to this. Adding the honey, it's about a 1/4 cup. I'm gonna add another 1/4 cup. Okay, let's stir that up. Pretty much ready. I'm actually going to use that same immersion blender and just blend it. And then I'm going to add the pectin. I'm going to have very little pectin because this is already rather thick. I'm going to remove the vanilla, blend this, blend that. But before we do that, I got this on about medium-high. This is going to take a while to cook down because it's a lot of apples. I'm going to add a decent amount of water. This is a lot of apples. So I'm going to add, I don't know, maybe just probably 2 cups worth of water to the bottom just to make sure it doesn't scald. I'm going to let these apples reduce on their own before I add any other things to the apple butter. What I typically add, you can add lemon juice to this. I actually add apple cider vinegar, which sounds weird. It doesn't taste of it at all. It actually tastes more vinegary. It actually tastes more appley, more apple cider-like when you make your apple butter. In my opinion, when you use apple cider vinegar. And then I'll add maple syrup to sweeten it. And then I'll add cinnamon. And I do add a little bit of allspice to it, which gives it a really nice color and kind of nutty flavor. So this is going to turn into apple butter, which is going to be like thick, beautiful, brownish situation. We'll be able to can it. I do add enough apple cider vinegar to get it to be acidic enough so that we can can it. But that's essentially it. This is going to have to cook down by like half or more. So it's going to be a while around here. As they do kind of mush up, I will push them down. Eventually, I might even stick the immersion blender in this just to get it moving along faster. I'll show you as that happens. We're going to use the immersion blender to blend that up and this up, and we can start canning some things if we're going to can them. Otherwise, we'll just put them in their jars, put them in the fridge, and go from there. All right, so that's about good. You want to taste test it?
Sure.
All right, so we're going to go ahead and test the pear butter or pear sauce.
A little nervous.
She's
excited,
nervous.
but
She's
I've never
nervous.
had pear sauce, so I don't
Look
expect.
at all these apples everywhere.
Hey,
Looks like a working kitchen in here.
Pops. Speaking of, you got an apple peel on your camera's microphone.
Of course we would. Mmm. Delightful.
Delightful,
It
she
tastes
claims.
just like pear. Just a teeny grainy, but not like a bad grainy because of the peel. But really pleasant.
Okay, so I'm going to taste it too.
It's hot.
Muy caliente. So you said that grit is still there?
Well, I don't think it'll ever go away. It's just,
You don't think if I blend it a little more, it will?
I don't mind it. It's kind of like when you eat a pear.
Tastes very clean pear taste.
Really, really good.
I wonder why pear sauce isn't a thing as much as applesauce is.
It's amazing.
Who decided that? I love it.
I love it.
Just going to blitz it a little bit more just to see, but I love it. I'm surprised it doesn't have a huge cooked flavor.
No, not at all. Isn't it really like just pear? Very true.
It tastes
Luca,
like
you wanna
real
taste
pear.
it?
So I think the last part cut out when my camera died or the SD card got full. I just unloaded it. But I wanted to show you guys the final product of the pear jam. It's beautiful. It actually reminds me as though it were to be like a pear butter. And I don't know if the camera is doing it justice, but this is the thickness. It's still warm. And that is what it's doing. I don't know if I cooked it a little too long, that I turned it accidentally into a pear butter. But I'm not adding pectin to this because I know if I did, it's going to be just this stiff thing. And this is perfectly fine for me to be able to spread over something, especially once it cools down. But were you a fan?
It is amazing. I'm still thinking about the taste of it. It just lingers in your mouth so long. It's very like pear flavored, but nutty, and then the vanilla makes it. I love it so much. I don't know why people don't make pear butter and pear jam and pear sauce more.
I'm gonna taste another bite because
It's so hot in here with all the apples cooking. I'm like, whew.
I love it chunky.
I
The
love it.
pear is so peary. I always think pear is going to just dissolve and kind of go away. Because pear, you don't think of pear as like a strong flavor.
Tastes like a dessert or a candy.
That over ice cream or something.
Wow. That is so good.
Yeah.
That'd be good in like a little tart too.
Talk to that.
Like a little turnover tart thing.
So let's head back. I've been stirring the apple butter situation. I want to show you what that's looking like. I've been stirring it and I have my immersion blender because a lot of the apples are already breaking down. This all this liquid is from the apples. I added like 2 cups of water at the bottom, but this is from the apples. It's insane. So I've been just using the immersion blender. Okay, so at the moment I have a giant vat of pretty much pinkish applesauce because of the skin. This needs to cook down. If you remember earlier, the apples were pretty much to the top. They have reduced almost to half and got some beautiful looking applesauce. Obviously I have some chunks here that I didn't quite blend yet because those are the apples in the top that need to break down some. Alrighty, so I have a half a cup here of apple cider vinegar, and I actually have a little bit left here that I'm just going to go ahead and do. It won't make it taste like vinegar. It's just going to give it a little more acidity so that it's safe for canning. And then this is going to cook down quite a lot. Now I'm going to add my sweetener. So I'm going to do about a cup of maple syrup first for this whole thing. Sounds like a lot, but it's a lot of apples. And then I'm going to taste it later. I will add a good hefty pinch of salt, sea salt. I like to add that to the apple butter just to kind of balance everything, balance out the flavors. Here's to a cup of maple syrup. Gonna leave about 4 ounces behind. Good, good. If I want it sweeter, I can have it sweeter. As long as the acidity remains, I'm good for canning. Sweetener, you can actually play around with that, so that's not a problem. Maple syrup. Now we add our spices. While my cauldron of apple butter gets going, that is a lot of apple butter and I'm excited to have it, I'm gonna jar up my pear jam. I'm gonna show you real quick the applesauce too. I forgot to show you that. So here I have the applesauce going in the Instapot. It's just on saute feature with a little bit of water. Get it going. Again, we have core, seeds, and all. We do have a little bit left here that doesn't quite fit. So as these break down, we're adding them to the top. And then we're gonna use this strainer right here. We'll put all the apples in here, spin it around in a bowl, and then we'll have applesauce, no seeds, no core or anything, but the core does add some pectin. It has a good flavor. So you get all of the apple without having to cut apples. And we've cut plenty of apples and pears today. So we're kind of done with that. So anyway, we got this whole thing going. We got the apple sauce going. All the apple products, essentially apple and the pear products right now. So all of the apple products are going close to apple butter. Actually, it's going to start to turn brown pretty soon. I did lower the heat so that I don't scald it. But I'm going to go ahead and get the pear stuff jarred up and see what we're going to can. Look at these frozen pears.
They're beautiful.
They are. They look just as fresh.
That's right.
Oh, they're hard. They're frozen already. Yeah. Now load it in freezer bags, freeze it, and then we'll see how we use it, but they look great. Pears are being labeled. We got 2-gallon bags. We could have filled them up more full, but that way we can lay them flat in the freezer. Pear 2023.
How fun is that? 2 bags of really nice, beautiful pears. And
All
then they can
preserved.
lay flat.
So this is what we got for pear sauce right here, which turned out beautiful, creamy, smooth. And actually, I'm not seeing any water accumulate in the top, which means we evaporated pretty much all the water out of that. And then we're going to leave this one out. We're going to eat it. These two I'm going to can. And then the pear jam, it made 4 half pint jars of it. So we're going to go ahead and can those. I have a little bit left. I'm going to scrape and then put in a separate bowl for us to eat because it's so stinking good. You should definitely try this recipe. I mean, both of them, but this jam is ridiculous. I'm going to clean up the edges, but before I do that, you can see here I got some bubbles here on the side. So I'm going to do what they call debubbling, which is putting, essentially just poking it until all the bubbles come up. Poking, poking, poke, poke, poke. Great texture. It's a very applesauce-like texture. It looks thicker in the camera than it is in person. In person, it's more applesauce-like. And this does have the lemon, has plenty of acidity. This is just pears by themselves. And pears by themselves you can can. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And then I'm going to get the canner ready. I'm going to clean the edges of these, all of them. And that's that. Hey guys, for some reason my camera decided to die when I was talking about all the canning. So I got all the jars. This is another day, by the way. I was editing and I realized it. So I was, sealing the jars, and I didn't get to show you how I put the jars in and what I used to can. So I thought I'll show you. I won't be able to put the jars in because the whole process is done, and I realized later that the footage didn't take. So I'm not sure why. Maybe I didn't push the button. It was a long day. I think I lost it that day. So mentally, I was doing great, but I think I just forgot to hit the record or something else happened. Anyway, I'm going to show you the canner that I use and just kind of walk you through a little bit. Hopefully it's helpful. So here is the Presto digital canner. This is what I use to can instead of using the canner on the stove. This does leave me with the option to pressure can or to water bath can. So I just chose the water bath can option. And then you can choose whatever time. I will leave a link below. I can't remember, the National Canning Center online is what I just Googled. I never remember how long things can for. So the apple sauce and the pear sauce, I canned those together because it was the same time. But you need to make sure if you're doing that to check your altitude. Our altitude is below 1,000. So I typically go with the first time because the higher the altitude, the more time you'll need for water bath canning. So you have to check where you live. All that is on that website. You can check your altitude, and then you can go for your time, and just make sure you go based off of the time of pints or quarts. I canned everything in pints or half pints. So if you can in half pint jars, you do the same time as you would for that of a pint. So hopefully that makes sense. But all I do here is, let's say it's 10 minutes, push the button, it'll say insert jars. It will start to warm the water. So you can have your jars in here with some water on the inside warming up already. I tend to just put the stuff in my jars and let the stuff warm the jars. It's worked out fine. And then I put it in here, warm it through. And then once it goes to warm, it'll heat, it'll count the time, and then it'll tell you cool. So once it starts to cool, I remove the lid, and then it will cool about 5 minutes longer. And then I can remove my jars and hear them seal, make sure they're all sealed, etc. So this is what I used for water bath canning. Just wanted to show this because I realized when I was editing the footage, there was nothing about it. So hopefully that helps, and I'll leave the link in the description regarding how long you can things for. So the apple butter had its own time, applesauce, pear sauce, all that. I just Google that and look up the time because I seldom have those numbers memorized. So hopefully that helps. This is warming. I don't need it to warm. I'm not canning anything right now, but hopefully that helps, and I'll leave that in the description. Back to the video. I don't know if my microphone was on when I did the whole situation over here, but this apple butter is close to ready. I've been blending it more. I ended up adding half a cup of coconut sugar, some more cinnamon to it, and just a taste, really. It's not necessarily for canning purposes because acidity-wise, it's good. At this point, I'm just looking at it. Is it thick enough? I mean, look at what we started. We started with pure apples, and now it's this luscious, deep brown, just goodness. I'm gonna blitz it a little more. When I use the immersion blender, I try not to get to the sides of the pan. I'm not sides of the pot. Not trying to scratch the pot. Just trying to make like a little vortex. You can go in figure eights like that. But now you can see it even traces, it leaves its mark. So it's thickened, it's beautiful. None is stuck to the bottom. Apple butter for the win. Okay, taste test.
I have to smell it first. It smells really spiced and good.
Got my food critics over here.
Delicious. I'm going to compare it to the last one.
Last one was the most perfect apple butter. I can even tell by the color. This is a little lighter.
Yeah, so tastes a little less deep, more raw, so maybe more cook time. Just a little more brightness, like lemon.
It needs some more brightness, yeah.
Compared to the other one.
I added lemon to the last one too, right?
I think so.
Because it called for apple cider vinegar, the recipe, but I think I also added lemon because I like the flavor, which is fine for canning because it adds more acidity. So
and just maybe a little more sweetness, but it's really close. Really good.
So what do you think? Maple syrup sweetness or coconut sugar sweetness?
Coconut sugar.
Coconut sugar, another half cup.
For the big pot? Yeah.
Okay.
So that's a lot.
That's why I start with low, so I can keep adding.
Yeah.
You
want some?
What do you think about the spices, Bear?
Do you want some? Could I ever? Here, I'll give you a carrot instead. I think spices are good.
I think it does need to deepen in color.
I love it.
Well, let's add some more. Another half cup sugar. Blend this sucker. Let her cook for a little longer. And try her out.
I love it.
Okay, guys. So applesauce is a saucing. To be honest, I let it go just a little too long, so it got a little darker than I'd like. It's going to be great regardless. So we're going to go ahead, and I got the sieve right here. Already started dumping some of the apples in there. I might get a ladle too. But I'm trying to get the big pieces here to process, and then turn it around. Okay, guys, so you just turn this around like that. And you see it kind of purees it, pushes it to the bottom. It is a little darker applesauce than I would like because we took a little bit of a lunch-ish, not really, a late lunch break. And then I realized, oh my gosh, I kind of neglected them. But it's going to taste good. So we're just going to dump all of this in here. Like so. And then process the applesauce. Well, guys, it's been a marathon of a day, but we have been very productive.
Here's our fun preserved items. I'm so excited. You have to remind me so much. I don't remember what's what. So these are the applesauce. These are canned pear sauce. Absolutely amazing. Pear jam, vanilla pear jam.
These are already sealed. These are the first ones I did in the canner, and they're already sealed, ready to go, ready to store.
And my dream come true. Look at all of these apple butters. Like we actually might have enough for the year, which would be amazing, like absolutely incredible. I'm so excited because it doesn't have any sugar and it's just one of the best flavors ever. I love it.
I'm trying to heat it up.
But out of all of it, I would say apple butter is just my favorite. I just love it. But pear sauce definitely would make again. I don't know why people don't eat that more. If I'm thinking, it's because I'm thinking. I'm tired. Pear jam, top one of like the favorite things I've ever had. That is so good. Vanilla pear jam.
Vanilla pear jam.
Keep the vanilla bean for sure. That makes it. That's so good. Applesauce standard. I'm excited about the frozen pears too. That's going to be fun. We will let you know how we use them and how it works out. But I'm so excited. It's just so nice to have huge amount of all our own stuff that goes in it, and you can make it healthy and you can enjoy it all year.
So all in all, we got 17 pint jars, so 16-ounce jars, and we got 2 quart-sized jars.
So really like 21 pints.
21 pints around there. So I hope that will last you.
I think that will.
That was a marathon. We're super excited to have processed. The pears seem like nothing.
Isn't that funny? Well, we have some frozen, but yeah, it's just...
Like literally all the pear situation is this and the one in the fridge and then these 4 jams.
And the frozen. 2 frozen bags.
2 frozen
But
bags.
also we had 2 boxes of apples.
Yeah.
One box of pears. So yeah. So thank you for joining us. It was so fun. We had lots of taste testing.
We'll see you guys on the next one. Hope you enjoyed this video, and let us know in the comments What was your favorite thing?
Yeah.
If you want to do other things.
And what you've made, if you've made any of these. Hi, Bear. Thanks,
Okay,
guys.
bye.
Bye.